What's up, my man?
Man, not much, brother. Just trying to stay busy. Definitely trying to stay active. And yeah. The new album just came out.
I'm so sorry. Hold on. What's wrong?
You're good.
Come on. All right, I'm sorry.
You're all good. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so I mean, I really I enjoy your guys's your music. It's sort of, is it like sort of half like a little bit of ska, a little bit of punk, or
So
just
like,
ska riffs? I don't. It's whatever it is. I'm digging it.
like a lot of musicians try to like really get really particular with the subgenres. So with us, it's pretty simple. Like we're a punk band with ska undertones, kind of like I'm pretty sure you've heard of the Suicide Machines,
Mm-hmm.
and they're people say they're ska punk, but I like to think they're more heavily punk influenced, and they kind of like cleverly sneak the ska in. So I like to think we're kind of more like on that end, but we have ska roots and reggae up roots and all that shit too, for sure. But it's whatever you want, whatever you perceive it as. We're not too picky or like, oh, it's this or that, but yeah, ska punk. Punk ska.
Tell me about the beginning, the origins of this band. When did it start, and how did it start?
Sure, for sure. So I guess you can say if you're from LA and you're familiar with like LA ska punk, it's somewhat of a super group. So I used to play in a ska punk band called Isolated Victims. We started in 2004 and dismembered about maybe 6 years ago. I have that history. And then my drummer, he plays in a band called the Paranoias. They're kind of known. They've been around probably since like 2006, 2007. And along with their bass player. So we've always known of each other. But up until like 2-3 years back, I was like, fuck, I need a drummer. I need a bass player. And up until this point, I was kind of used to being told no by other drummers and other bass players. So I was like, fuck, let me hit up the homie Nico. Nico's the guy that I'm talking about that plays drums. He responded, he's like, yeah, sure. I'm like, fuck, you didn't say no. He didn't, he's the first person that didn't tell me no. And he's a badass, well, in my opinion, he's one of the baddest drummers in LA. But he's also a really friendly guy. He really approachable. He's not one of those musicians that'll like kind of like keep the secrets. He'll drop the knowledge if you're willing to learn. So my drummer Nico, he's pretty much all that in the bag of chips. And then our bass player David, he's in the same band as Nico. So to make a long story short, just kind of a super group of kind of known local underground ska bands combined is put on the batteries. So it's kind of interesting, So
that's pretty cool. And was this like a COVID project?
It's funny that you mentioned that, man. So the EP, if I don't know if you got to see on YouTube or Spotify or whatever, we have an EP that came out 2 years back called The Condiments. And we released it in February. And that shit ended up, I guess, getting cock-blocked by COVID. So it was like a month before COVID kind of like took over everything. So It was weird. It was like one of those things where like, it was a real life situation. So it'd be kind of weird, like, telling folks, hey man, listen to our fucking EP, our EP, while people, it was kind of awkward. So we just let it kind of linger. I promoted as much as I could. So this time around with the new project, it was more or less a better rollout and compared to the EP because people kind of knew who we were at this point as far as this band. And just, I don't know how to explain it. It was more prepared. And I guess, COVID's already been around for 2 years. So we're already knee deep in this shit. So it's, there's nothing else really to like take away as far as music. And, shows are kind of slowly coming back. So I guess what I'm trying to say, it was more appropriate for us to really push out the promotion this time around with the Class Clown album. And compared to 2 years back when we fucking came out with an EP right before COVID. I don't know, you know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense or not.
No, I get you, man. I definitely understand. So with COVID, I mean, you're in Los Angeles. I'm in Ventura. I'm finding it very
Narcor. Sorry,
dude. Right there.
That's right. That's fucking right.
I ride for my city.
That's fucking right,
Yeah,
man. Hell
they
yeah. No,
fucking they crafted who I am as a man. Just that scene itself. It was
I have a funny aggression story if you want to hear it. Well, it's kind of
oh
funny.
man. Yeah, we
So
just lost a good one.
I I I yeah, I heard. Well, so speaking of which, I only got to see them once, and one of the OG members, of course, is Big Bob, and so this is I think it was thrown by Elvis from Left Alone. Shout out to Elvis, by the way. And this was at the Alpine Village. And to make a long story short, a fight kind of broke out, and it was kind of a bad scene. I don't want to say too much, but it wasn't the best. It wasn't the best as far as like audience members kind of like behaving well in a punk show. And what I mean by that, I know people get rowdy at punk shows, but like I guess it got too far. Like an OG started like getting too aggressive in the pit, and then one of the security guards came to kind of like manhandle homeboy and like calm him down, and he ended up socking the security,
Oh, no.
this old punker guy, and then so all hell broke loose. Aggression ended up kind of like cutting their set short, and I'm like, fuck, let me get my autograph Aggression album that I had on me at the time. I had an LP. I was like, let me see if I can get Big Bob, because he's like one of the original members. And he's like, yeah, cool, man. Like, gets my LP, starts signing it. But then I guess, I don't know, like his someone that was with him was like, oh, we gotta go, we gotta get out of here. Shit's getting crazy. So he signed to Porno, because everyone calls me Porno. My name's Porno, but he's like, to Porno from Big Bob. And he couldn't finish the B. So I have a signed Aggression LP that says, to Porno from Big Bob. Not Big Bob, but Big
Dude,
Bob.
how awesome is that though? I'd much rather have that than a fucking Big Bob.
And I got to tell a funny story. Well, kind of funny story. So there you go.
And
no, but
they're
it was
part of you forever now. You know what I mean?
That part.
I got a Big Bob story if you want to hear.
I want to hear.
All right. So we No Cover had a stage at Ventura's Warped Tour, the last Warped Tour. And we sort of went up to Kevin and we're like, hey man, this is what we're thinking. What do you think? And Kevin's gracious enough to let it happen. So originally we wanted to do like a nardcore stage, like just nardcore bands there. And then we started like adding more people to it. And so it just got, but one of the first bands that we were going to play was Aggression. And so the reason why I told you that I put a bunch of people in it is because I end up putting in to Kevin Lyman a list of 200 people that I needed to come into the state to come into Warped Tour. And there were like lighting guys, there were band members, they wanted plus ones or whatever. So Kevin calls me at 9:00 the night before. He's, are you fucking serious? He just reads me the riot act. You are fucking up and just swearing up and down. I go, Kevin, I'm gonna take care of this. Don't worry. And he goes, you have this amount of people. That's it. I was like, shit. So I'm trying to figure it out, and I end up figuring it all out. So I get there at 6:00, feeling good, dude. Feeling good. I just put out a fire, and then we're setting up the stage. I'm just walking like, I got it now. This day's gonna go off without a hitch. This lady comes up to me, Kevin's personal assistant. She goes, "Oh, Kevin wants to see you." I bet you. I'm like, I got this shit. So I go up to Kevin. I end up chatting him up, and he goes, "What the fuck is going on?"
Whoa!
What? He goes, "One of your bands, one of the members from one of your bands is here eating the fucking food." And I was like, "What do you mean eating the food?" He goes, "It's not. I don't care if someone eats food, but he's eating everything of the food." And I was like, "What is? Get him the fuck out of here!" And I was like, "All right." No. So I go over there, and it's Big Bob. And Big Bob has this spread on this table, just with everything, just feeling good. And I go up to Big Bob and I'm like, "What's up, Big Bob?" He goes, "What's up, Tim?" I said, "I'll see you later." And it just walked away. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna be the asshole that tells him he can't have the food that he already touched.
You're not gonna tell Big Bob. Yeah.
And I love Big Bob. That's my guy.
I don't know if I should be saying this or giving my opinion, but that's kind of petty on Mr. Lyman's part. But I'll just leave it at that. But whatever. But I mean, and it's
I
like
already pissed him off. It wasn't what Big Bob was doing. It's that he was already mad at me.
So he's nitpicking at anything. At
He was
this point.
just nitpicking. Yeah. And
damn.
But at the end of the night, me and him made up, gave each other a hug, and he was like, "I'm just making you war ready." That's what he told me. I was like, "All right, let's go."
Yeah. You know what you said right there, just to go off on a tangent, I think because to give you kind of further context with this band in my headspace, this is my first band where I'm sort of singing, writing lyrics, and sort of curating budgets and just all that shit. Before that, all the bands that I've been in, including the Isolated Victims band, I was just playing guitar and just going on stage, being quiet and just doing like what I'm supposed to do, like an idiot robot for an hour. It's sort of contrast and responsibility. But with that being said, like you said, you're ready for war. You sort of have like tough skin. So I think with a lot of musicians tend to sort of take things personal when I say that, because it takes one to know one, because I'm sort of going through the growing pains. So I think I've developed more tough skin. I've learned how to hear people's opinions that are not the same as mine, and the negative and all that, and just take it the same as I would with a positive compliment, because you're going to get that. You're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Some people might test you, like you were saying, to see if you're war ready. So I'm kind of developing that sort of tough skin and sensibility myself. So it's just funny that you mentioned that, because it's crazy.
Do you feel like this is more of a leadership role for you in this band? Or is this more of this is a business instead of just a bunch of guys having fun?
Straight up, kind of both, but more of a leadership role in a business. But I mean, still a bunch of guys having fun, because we all like doing this shit, but we're also in our 30s and fun doesn't pay the bills, even though you're not supposed to be you're not supposed to make capital in punk rock. We're trying to do it in a way like most DIY bands do, like, humble capital, to where people can still kind of respect us within the scene and not look at us like we're some fucking, Jeff Bezos with guitar and instruments and shit or whatever. But I don't know, you know what I mean? So I think we're a bunch of guys having fun, but also more or less the boys are showing me the ropes as far as like being a leader, showing me how to sort of, because I'm new to this. I have no shame admitting it, and I think I've gotten much better over the past 2 years, and just and there's still a lot of room to grow. But that's just me sort of being humble about that.
That's so. Is it tough being in a band in Los Angeles? And what are the struggles? What struggles do you encounter as active in the scene, and how do you, and what are some struggles you have already overcame, and what are some struggles that you're overcoming as we speak?
I think it goes back to like how I was telling you earlier about, well, there's a plethora of things, but one of them for sure is like having sort of tough skin and being able to take positive and negative critiques and being able to take constructive criticism. And I'll give you kind of an in-depth more answer on that, because like a lot of times, I'd get a lot of people that would say like, oh, the music's okay, or you have a shitty recording, or thanks but no thanks, or whatever the case, and I'd kind of go off on a tangent and just straight up start talking shit, and that's not going to get you anywhere. And it wasn't like anything too crazy or like threatening, but just just kind of just like, oh well, fuck off, and just like verbal kind of shit. But either way, it's gonna hinder, and that kind of stuff can only. It's kind of like you're getting in your own way, I guess. So but that was more or less kind of like in the beginning stages of the EP, and that's where I guess I say the so-called growth has kind of come in, because it's better just to have that tough skin. It's better just to sort of like take everything with a grain of salt, and then if something comes through, cool. And then if say someone turns around and they jump on the bandwagon later on, it's like you just kind of you stay cool about it, and hey, what's up? Well, let's work something out, and blah blah blah, and just little things, little common sense things that I guess I'm catching up with, because I have I guess maybe 18 years experience playing in and out of different bands, but like I said, it was just me playing guitar, and now it's just like I'm sort of adjusting to this leadership role, and the other guys help out too. It's not just me doing everything, but for the most part, it's all me as far as like the budget, writing the songs, video ideas, because we are going to come out with a video hopefully in a couple weeks, knock on wood. So, and just all that shit. And it's like, and it's nothing that no band's never done, but just for me, I'm just learning how to get into the motion of those things and just, you know, just look more professional, because at the end of the day, even punk rock has to be a little professional.
Yeah. And another thing, like when people tell you no, you lost that fan for the moment. By you responding in a positive manner to that fan, you have not lost that fan forever. But when the fan, when you talk shit to them, you've lost that fan forever until you become utterly uber successful and famous.
Pretty much, because yeah.
So everything I've ever done in my life, bro, I've approached it with that. You know, I've had multiple. Kevin Lyman told me no about this Warped Tour idea fucking 3-4 times, but I kept on going back to him. And once you don't take no, and you take that, like when you shake their hand and say goodbye, like I'm gonna fucking get back at you. I'm gonna be so successful, you cannot fucking deny me. And that's just, you gotta have that eye of the tiger, brother.
No, yeah, and that's what it is, man. Because a lot of people, I won't name drop anyone, but there's certain people that might have said thanks, but no thanks, or we're not my cup of tea, or whatever the case. And then with this new release, some of those people have kind of turned around with more positive reactions, like, oh, this song's catchy, as opposed to 2 years back, they were kind of giving more like suggestive opinions that at the time I sort of just like bit my tongue and I'm like, all right, cool. And so you're right. If you kind of just stay quiet and just kind of rough it out, some of those people will turn around, because it's just like, like it's, I don't know, man, people are weird when it comes to music. It's, just, it's everyone listens to everything differently. And sometimes like I personally have had songs from bands that I didn't like off the bat. And then like 5 years later, I'm like, I like that song. It just, for whatever reason, so it's just, yeah, I'm learning how to like
Lady Gaga. That's mine.
Oh yeah, now you're talking.
Joking. No, but I didn't like it at all until recently. I heard it a couple times on a cover, and I was like, oh, I sort of like it.
I like a little Taylor Swift.
Guilty
pleasure. That part out. Edit that part out. But no, man, and it's nothing new or profound that I'm saying. It's just, I think it's just me kind of going through the motions of that. So, yeah, man, that's all.
Well, I think as, time goes on, the world is looking more normal, and hopefully by, in a couple summers, we'll be back to normal. But what are you doing right now? You and the band doing to prepare yourself for this up and coming spring and summer?
Well, like I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, we're going to for sure start filming a video. It's actually going to be for a song called the song that we have out called Sidewalk Surfing, which is pretty much about how. Thank you, man. Well, I don't have a car and I travel everywhere through LA, and it's with my board. I mean, and I do take the train and whatnot, but there's times where the train's not running and I got to get to where I got to go. So long story short, it's a song about, it's about that basically, no matter what your skateboard level is, whether you're intermediate or you're pro, the song's about, a skateboarder just traveling, especially if you don't have a car. So, but yeah, we're shooting a video for that. Also, hopefully within a month, we're going to actually start recording our next EP. I kind of like, my drummer kind of gives me a lot of advice, a lot of good advice. Cause like I said, he plays in another band that's pretty popular, and his other band, the Paranoias, they have like, I think within 8 years, like over fucking like 300, I think 200 like songs. Like, I think my math is horrible, but I think they have like about maybe 7 releases. They have a lot of content is my point. So my drummer, he kind of tells me like, man, you got to stay consistent, like especially with this internet shit and like the algorithms. So to kind of answer your question, as far as what we're doing for spring, we're just trying to stay consistent, whether it's like releasing videos, more releases through EPs, and maybe hopefully another album. But just the more consistent we are, I think the more people will kind of recognize, and kind of piggybacking off the other conversation about certain people turning around and giving us a second look. I think that kind of comes with like, well, being consistent and just having that sort of like work ethic, because that's it. I don't know. So to answer your question, we're just gonna try to keep cranking out as much as we can. So yeah, hopefully next month we'll start kind of like rehearsing new song ideas. And I want to say, hopefully, knock on wood again, like by mid-spring, maybe by like by mid-spring, by late summer, we might have like a EP. And yeah, just keeping it consistent.
Is there anything you want to bring up, or is there any shows coming up? Is there any
I kind of
specific
want
dates to keep in mind?
We don't have any shows coming up yet, but I'm gonna tag a lot of the LA promoters. So for you LA promoters and even you Las Vegas Oxnard promoters, if you guys are looking for something new within the punk ska realm, like hit us up. Besides that, I kind of just wanted to give you the whole concept of the album, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Because it's called the Class Clown album, and originally it was a play on the fact that like I was kind of like a class clown. Like I never really got in trouble, like as far as like doing malicious shit, beating people up. It was like Dennis the Menace type shit. Like I would make fart jokes and get detention and get kicked, you know what I mean? Just shit like that. And so it started off as that, and then it came also in the combination of like, you know, our chief and fucking staff from like 4 years ago, that orange tyrant himself, you know, he's always on Twitter kind of ranting like a fucking like a child. So I'm like, hey, these are like the symptoms of a class clown, sort of, and just it's a play on a couple things. But and I remember the guys were like, man, we want to like kind of like have like an anti-Trump song, but without promoting him all the way and like showing his face, because that's kind of like free press for him, and especially with a guy that's like egotistical like that. So we were like, let's do something that's sort of indirect, but if people that are smart can kind of get the references through the songs and then seeing the artwork and like, oh, okay, they're talking about that guy. And but you know, just trying to be creative and all that shit.
Nice. What is the name
of the band? The name of the band is Put on the Battery. So I noticed during the Zoom chat it said POTB. So a lot of people think that it's just the acronym, but the name of the band is Put on the Battery. So here's another quick story about my ex-band, Isolated Victims. The drummer of that band, and he's still my boy to this day. That guy is like my Mexican brother. Sometimes when I would slack off to band practice, he would be like, "Punta las pilas." I don't know if you know Spanish, but he'd be like, "Punta las pilas." And I was like, "What the fuck does that mean?" He's like, "It's put on the batteries," which means like, you know, stay ready, fool. Like in other words. So to make a long story short, when I started this band, I was like, well, I want to pick a name that kind of encompasses like the fast music, but also like, you know, not giving up, because a lot of our songs are sort of like motivational, like Gorilla Biscuit-ish as far as like the lyrics and just PMA. So I wanted something that could represent that, but also like, you know, just showing that you could always like tough it out through things. And so Punta Las Pilas was like a perfect reference towards that. So that's how the name came up. So whenever people see POTB, they're like, oh, what's up? Pop punk? And I'm like, no, it's Put on the Batteries. So the acronym's just sort of kind of like shorten it, and it looks cool. Every band needs an acronym.
I love that. I love that's the drive of the band. Like fast pace, always ready, let's go.
And even like with how we were talking about like staying positive through like the negative critiques of the band and all that stuff, like even that kind of like it kind of encompasses that with the band, because I have to remind myself, I'm like, man, I can't tell people to like stay motivated and stay positive, and I'm over here being grumpy because one or two people didn't like a song off the EP. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it sounds corny and everything, but I listen to a lot of Gorilla Biscuits, so you know. starts today, man. Starts today. But no, I mean, I just wanted to kind of get that across, just in case certain people didn't get the references through the album or even know our actual name. So you brought up a good point. Like some people might still want to call us pop punk, but no, we're Put on the Batteries. Put on the Batteries. And Batteries is BATTERYS, by the way, for anyone that wants to look us up on YouTube or Spotify. A lot of people type in Put on the Batteries and they'll spell batteries the correct way, and they'll get sent to like a car battery tutorials. And they're like, what the fuck, man? Where's your
I couldn't find you guys at first because of that, because I was spelling it the right way.
There you go. So for anyone watching, it's BATTERYS, you know, so whatever. I'm dyslexic, I guess. There you go. just kidding.
Well, my man, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for coming on, sharing the band with us, and We wish you nothing but success, man.
Hey, thank you for listening and giving a shit. I appreciate you taking the time out, and hope to talk to you soon. Hopefully next time I can get the boys. They're actually, I know my bass players at work, and Nico's somewhere in LA, but maybe next time we can get the boys. My drummer, like I said, he produced the album, so maybe like you can get some producer questions out of him and like pick his brain. But thank you, man. Thank you so much.
No problem, man. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good day.